In the world of film photography, there are so many different directions that one can go in, whether it be cameras, formats, or film stocks. Even someone like myself who shoots a lot of color negative film, I feel like I still haven't explored all the possible film stocks that are still produced to this day. One area that I've really neglected would have to be Lomography's offering of color negative stocks. And for that, I do feel a little bad. Fortunately, Lomography reached out to me recently so I could try some of their color negative film stocks. This is all part of their Don't Let 120 Go Extinct program, which is a way to entice 35mm shooters to go over to medium format. And in doing so, Lomography's actually lowered the price on their color negative film stocks, which is quite remarkable. So let's get down to the nitty gritty of Lomography's color negative film stocks. As you might imagine, a company in upstate New York most likely produces these film stocks, but nonetheless it is Lomography who offers them and also packages them. With exception to Lomography Turquoise and Purple, which are a little more niche, there are only 3 flagship color negative film stocks offered by Lomography. The first one is 100, the second one is 400, third one is 800. Of those 3 stocks, I've only ever shot Lomography 800, and that was a while ago. With that being said, I absolutely loved Lomography 800, the punchy colors, the great dynamic range. Really, it was just a film that stood out to me at the time. Me being the type of person who likes to field test new film stocks, I figured I'd bring this on a day trip for me, shoot all 3 side by side to get a little bit of a side by side comparison about how these film stocks differ. And for that, I brought my old Texas Leica along. I figure 8 shots a roll, 24 shots for the day. That's more than enough to get a good idea. It was early in the morning and I decided to head to the legendary Feather River Canyon, Highway 70. This time of year, the canyon is absolutely gorgeous with snow-capped mountains all around and more waterfalls than you could shake a stick at. The first film that I chose was Lomo 100. It was getting towards a little bit more of that midday light and I figured that'd be an ideal time to give it a go. Only 2 shots in, I already feel like I have a decent idea as to what one can expect with Lomo 100. The images are contrasty with less shadow and highlight detail when compared to some film stocks like maybe Ektar 100. In the second image in particular, one can notice that the sky is completely blown out in the corner. This was the only time that the highlights were really that blown out, but nonetheless it gives you just an idea of the dynamic range. In this third photo of Grizzly Dome, one can see that the colors are fairly muted across the board, not to the extent that it's like blatantly obvious, and also the highlights on the rock face are getting really close to blown out. Once again, that's just how the film's dynamic range is. To finish off my roll of Lomo 100, I decided to photograph a couple waterfalls and then switch over to Lomo 400 and re-photograph the same scene. This way I could get a really good side-by-side comparison. When one places images side by side, there are 2 noticeable differences between Lomo 100 and 400. First, Lomo 400 has punchier colors than 100, as one can see in the green foliage. It's not a huge difference, but it is noticeable. Second, Lomo 400 has a great deal more highlight retention, as one can see in the upper right corner here. The color of these images in particular really make me want to try a Lomo 400 in the summertime. Hell, just looking at these photos, you might think that it is summertime, but nope, it is the dead of winter. This type of scene with just the varying contrast with the punchy yellows. Oh gosh, this was perfect for a film stock like Lomo 400. Finish off my roll of Lomo 400, I got this absolutely gorgeous view. Usually you don't get such a good light because the sides are so steep on these canyons. It just blocks out pretty much anything in the evening. And I like this image, although I think if you're gonna have these horizontal thirds, the water, the mountains, and the sky, I'd probably drop it down so that the water is a little more even in proportion to the sky. Looking for a place to shoot a roll of Lomo 800, I decided to check out Belden, which is what can be described as 50% saloon, 50% town. It's really small, nestled in the Feather River Canyon, and it's a great spot to drop in for a beer if you're ever driving through. This first image goes to show why Lomo 800 is such a great film stock, shooting in the deep shade, handheld, getting such punchy colors, and even getting some highlight detail. It's just such a great film stock. It was after the shot that we decided to head back home, in which case I managed to finish off the roll of Lomo 800 with a couple more canyon views. This shot of an old Cadillac turned out fairly well as this really nice overlook of the Feather River. All in all, I was quite happy with my results with all three Lomo film stocks. It was one of those things where shooting nice landscapes, midday light, it's a good scenario to give it a test, and I was able to learn a lot about each stock. If I were to summarize, I'd say Lomo 100 is going to have the least dynamic range, it's going to have the least amount of saturation, while Lomo 400 is going to take up the middle of the pack. It's going to have a lot better dynamic range if you ask me, while Lomo 800 is going to have even punchier colors and equal, if not better, dynamic range as 400. If I were to choose a favorite film stock of the trio, it's no surprise I would be going with Lomo 800, which I think just is all around a great film for so many scenarios. And it's just like Portrait 800, which is also one of my favorite film stocks, yet it costs half the price. In any case, I hope you guys learned a little bit about Lomo's film stocks in case you haven't tried it. And if you haven't, I really recommend you do so, especially now that the prices are a little bit lower than before. Overall, it's fairly affordable in the world of medium format color negative films, and I hope you can just go out there and show me your results once you do shoot it.